Right, we're here at Little Chester. It's a suburb of Derby. It's also known as Chester Green after the area of open parkland running along the bank of the River Derwent. And it is the oldest inhabited part of Derby, as we know. And it was the location of a fortified Roman settlement called Deventio. It was inhabited before the Romans arrived, as fragments of Iron Age pottery have been found in the area. And it's probably the home to local tribes like the Cornovi, who produce their own coinage with rare gold coins found. Now, the fort at Deventio was not only protecting the river crossing, but also to the junction of 5 Roman roads. The most important one was probably Ragnall Street. There were 2 known sites in Derby of Roman forts in this area. The first was built 50 AD under Emperor Nero, and the second was located on the site known here as Chester Green from around 75-80 AD. Now, it's thought Deventio was first established as a purely military role in this vital river crossing. Eventually, it prospered into a small town, but it's thought this settlement probably was abandoned and refortified in 874 by the Vikings. Not a lot remains above ground today, apart from 2 Roman wells, one on Market Street and the other on St Alkmund Street. But in 1924, the local council were digging out foundations to replace the sports pavilion, and a Roman hypercourse, an underwater heating system, was identified. The hypercourse was covered and a wooden shed was built over the site to mark its position. But woefully, the council, the shed deteriorated and it was pulled down and the site was grassed over, leaving its precise location uncertain. Which is bloody stupid, isn't it? Excavations in the early 70s showed that a Saxon cemetery was established around the 6th century just outside the walls of the Roman fort. And I think there were 17 burials discovered, which may explain the presence of the former St Alkmund's church. St Alkmund was a Northumbrian prince originally, but this church was Victorian and it stood in a Georgian square. The church and its yard were demolished in 1968 for construction of a road to improve traffic flow or something. But various churches dedicated to St Alkmund had been constructed on this site since the 9th century, and artefacts uncovered recorded from this site included a stone sarcophagus and remains of a 13-foot tall stone cross, both now held in Derby Museum. St Alkmund's sarcophagus is made from a single piece of sandstone and weighs approximately 1 ton and is highly decorated all round. Unfortunately, they didn't find the lid. The remains of the Anglo-Saxon original church was discovered during the demolition, and this coffin is thought to have stood next to the altar until it was buried in the 12th century. And these are some of the fragments that were found when St Albans Church was demolished in 1968. Now, these are from Derby Museum. I recently visited and it was under construction and change and stuff, so a lot of it was out of place, and I'm going back in a few weeks anyway, see it properly. Now, this is a small fragment of a cross shaft which depicts 2 figures, and it was found in 1844 when the medieval St Albans Church was demolished. Now, this is St Alkmund's well, and it's below ground level with 4 steps to its water which flows into an oval basin. Apparently well dressing used to take place here, but it was discontinued due to vandalism and it was blocked off by metal fencing, but it protects it from idiots. But it's mainly the demolition of St Alkmund's Church in 1960s stopped the tradition of processing to the well. Now both these wells may not be holy wells, but they're certainly sacred and very interesting relics from Roman and before. And they lay near Ricknell Street, which led to Buxton. There is another Roman road which started at Deventio and that's sort of south to Sawley and the River Trent, which is a place I grew up, so I'm going to do a video on that separately. At the end of Marker Street, there's an illustrated information board and recounts the history of the site, telling how Ricknell Street, the Roman road that ran from Gloucestershire to Yorkshire, was diverted around the defensive position that we know as Little Chester. And it confirms that all the masonry below the grating is original and dates from the late 3rd century. Now, this second feature is interesting. It's adjacent to the well and can be seen in the front garden of the houses that have been built on the site. So they're lucky to be preserved. Here you see the foundation stone of a timber frame Roman building. And many Roman artefacts have been found around this area.